Thank you, Solomon. Thank you for that. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call on the President Center for Health Sciences Training, Research and Development, Dr. Lola Dare, who has a very important task of wrapping up this particular event. But I'm sure we all have our takeaways, and then after that we'll have the closing remarks and the vote of thanks. You've all been very excellent. Thank you very much for your patience. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause to Dr. Lola Dare.
Okay, I have a very difficult task. Thank you. I have a very difficult task. And I thought when I was coming, I had it all wrapped up. I'm a physician, I work with children. This should be Economics 101. But I must first thank everybody in this room for actually enabling me to learn from them. I sat there and I watched the energy in the room, the passion in the room, the commitment in the room. And I know that this is an issue that is so important to us. And I must thank Bimbo, Tinuke and Peju for actually putting this out there in the public space for us to discuss. When I first spoke to them, it was like, it's not about Olashure, it's about society. I really celebrate your passion. I'm sorry I don't know your name, but I celebrate the passion with which you said, we must get this child in Babcock, we must call her. It's a medical emergency, it's a psychiatric emergency, it's a social emergency. And we're living in times when we are in a difficult period. It is a social emergency. I've taken the time to listen to you, and as I listened to you, I went online, I got images to show you what I think is a very bad summary of what you've said, because these slides cannot reflect your passion. The first thing is, what have we heard? What have we heard? What indeed have we heard? We've heard many things, but one thing we heard is that as there is mental disability, mental disorder, there's also mental wellness. When are we mentally well? If you feel mentally well, celebrate yourself by clapping your hands. We've heard about mental wellness, but I took time to look at what's the magnitude of the problem. WHO says depression is the largest contributor to global disability. So this is not a local problem, it's a global problem. Wow, Nigeria is third. At least we came near first in something. But this is not where we want to celebrate our being ahead of the curve. So Nigeria is third. That's not very good. We have moved from being the happiest people on earth a few years ago to being the most depressed country in Africa in 2017. Why are we depressed? 39% are depressed, 3.9% are depressed, and it's rising. 12% of adolescent Nigerians have attempted suicide. I wonder how many of them have actually succeeded. It's insidious in nonsense. It's like putting on weight. One day you are size 10, then the next day you are size 16. You wonder how you got from size 10 to size 16. So it's very slow. We don't notice it. People are talking about the clinical manifestation, which is what you see when it's gone wrong. When do you know it's about to go wrong? I think it's something we should look for time to also talk to schools, talk to parents, and talk to Solomon and his friends. We don't have enough of you here. We are actually here talking about our own opinion, what we think, what we should do, but I think you should tell us more what we should do. So when is it just about to go wrong? We need to talk about it. What exactly is mental illness or mental wellness? Is my child mad? Is this madness? There is madness. Adolescents too can be mad. They can be schizophrenic. When is it just a disability? When is it a disorder? And when is it a frank disease? Bipolar. Okay, so maybe all of us have some elements of being bipolar. I mean, this morning I was upset because my PA didn't come in on time, but now I'm happy. Am I bipolar? There are many questions we need to ask in the determination of the magnitude of the problem. Has my child changed? People talked about mood changes, eating patterns, does not sleep, secretive, hypertensive, locks the door and stays away, is in seclusion, excessive eating, social media, no friends visit, or the child becomes aggressive. But look at this child. This child has changed from being my little boy to my man. That is also a normal change. It's the change from puberty to adolescence and to mental illness or mental wellness. How well do we manage what is a normal change and what's an abnormal change? On the other side of that slide, you would see the young girl who apparently looks abnormal. I'm using the word apparently deliberately. She apparently looks abnormal. I'm sure some of us have sat down beside windows wondering when Michael Jackson will marry us, and he didn't. So this is also part of the development of a normal young girl. So when does it go wrong? You've also said, oh God, I'm changing this fast for you. We've also looked at the busy and absent parent syndrome. Very important. Our parenting styles. Some of us are autocratic and still are. Some people here know my dad. I thank him for his autocracy today. There are things that autocracy needed in a child, and he gave it to me when I needed it. The negligent father, oh yeah, that was negligent. You couldn't speak to him. He was too overpowering. The over-providing person. My mom was over-providing. Anything daddy didn't provide, mommy provided it. But I think it's, at the end of the day, adds up to something. Is it the listening child, the listening parent? Mom is empowered and is at work, the empowered woman, the woman of today. I need to help with the family income, a reality. It's a reality. No matter how comfortable men are now, women need to help with the family income. It's not about being empowered. Aha, we have a status to maintain. My child's glasses, it must be on point, nothing less. Konidabe. This is something we hear from women a lot. Konidabe is not good. It's somebody's wedding. It's somebody's funeral. She came to my daddy's 70th birthday. Konidabe, which means the children are at home alone almost every Friday, Saturday, Sunday because Konidabe. Separation and divorce, real things. Sometimes it goes wrong between parents. Sometimes the children pay for it. Sometimes it should go wrong between parents. They are being abused. The woman is being abused. The man is being abused. This is not a situation where you should bring up a child. So staying when it's hurting your child is also as bad as staying when you no longer want to stay. But it hurts children. So what role do we have? What role does separation and divorce play? Sometimes the person that gets the cherry pie, which means the person that gets the children, overcompensates. Dad is not here, I have to be dad, I have to be mom, I don't want them to know dad is not here. Separation and divorce is like losing your partner. Even when you lose a partner, you lose a wife, you lose a mother, you lose your husband, it can be tough. So there's the absent and the busy parent syndrome. I love this. Social media, social pressure. But we didn't talk about the changing social norms. It's not only technology that's changing us, education is changing us, democracy is changing us. So there's so many socials happening here that children are bewildered. They're bewildered because this social is compounding their biological socials. Their biological socials of adolescence, their biological social of curiosity. Sometimes I want to kill myself is curiosity. If I killed myself every time I threaten to kill myself, I won't be here today. So yes, I want to kill myself. That's because mommy is not paying attention to me. So what's the best way to get attention? So we are under a new kind of social order that is beginning to reflect in our mental health. That social order is impacted not only by social media, it's impacted by DSTV. It's impacted by social pressure. It is actually also our fault as parents. Please, let's take the blame. It's our fault as parents. We are the Joneses, our children copy. We are the Joneses. So I think we should also take the fault as parents, take the fall as parents, and see in what way can we be a little bit like the parents that produced us. Not too harsh, not too soft, just right. It's like the pillowcases in dreams, just right. We said we could see many faces. You know, it has so many faces. How do I know there is a problem? That's the first thing I hear the parents asking. How do I know there is a problem? When do the brakes fail, and how do I identify it? My teachers care. We seem to give I love teachers. I'm a teacher myself. But teachers have a role. And I've heard students say, teacher care. I cannot talk to her. I cannot talk to my teacher, especially teachers in the male sections of boarding schools. They are the ones who are teaching our boys to be boys. They are the ones, even sometimes the parent at home hasn't said it at all. They are the ones who are actually a little bit confrontational with our boys. Why are you crying? Why are you crying? You know, so my teachers also need training. Teachers also need enabling. Teachers also need to know when to be there and when not to be there, when to call and when not to call. My children went to Olashure International School. I am very proud to say so. They are lawyers and chemical engineers now, but I was very comfortable to leave them in school because Mrs. Ahmed will talk to my daughter. There was always somebody, and they became my friends. The teachers need to be helped as well. Teachers are not perfect. There were teachers who also made things difficult. So, teacher care, not at all. No one pays attention to me. What kind of attention? My parents do not understand me. Not unusual. This is demonic, very common. Only Jesus can save. Is my child mad? Very troubling. My teachers are bullies, a reality. I can't tell mommy and daddy. Can mommy and daddy please listen? I don't want to go home. I love my friends. Not from my mouth. That is also very common. We see it, we notice it, we know it's going wrong, and we keep quiet. Especially if it is the child or the relative or the care, or somebody in the care of somebody who is a significant other to us, or somebody we think is connected, then we all keep quiet because enemy cannot see Magbo. Who shall I tell now? Who shall I tell now? I'm not going to wait to come to your clinic. I need somebody to talk to now. I've just left a suicide note. I need somebody to talk to now. Who is that person? Believe me, it's a Solomon. It's an adolescent. It's my friend. It depends on what my friend knows, what I do with my friends. So parents, you've got to know the friends of your children. You have to be mother to the friends of your children as well, much as you are mother to your own child. Why is this happening? You said, why is it happening? It's a dynamic and rapidly changing environment. There's social media. We are experiencing a cultural conflict as parents. My mother was a very good wife. The definition of good wife was submission. Whatever daddy says is what we do. Are we good wives? Are we good wives? What is he saying? No, we are not doing that. So because of our education, because of our exposure, we can challenge daddy. And we often do that in the presence of our children. Is it right? Is it wrong? No answer. So we are experiencing a cultural conflict. That cultural conflict impacts on the children as confusion. Sexuality, is it sexuality? Is it puberty? Is it adolescent? That's another confusion. Peer pressure. But there's part of why it's happening that we didn't pay enough attention to is the economic challenges of our times. Economic challenges of our time. Nigeria has come from being the happiest country on earth to being the third depressed country in the world and the most depressed country in Africa. Why? Children are no longer eating pizza 3 times a day. Reality of what is hurting mommy's pocket. They're no longer able to go to summer every year. Reality of what's hurting mommy's pocket and daddy's pocket. They're no longer able to do many of the luxuries we have initially brought them up with. We are also struggling with that reality. Daddy is also struggling with that reality. Who's helping Tobiloba? When he suddenly cannot buy Nike, and he suddenly cannot buy it from John Lewis, but he can buy it from ShopRite. There's no summer this year. It's affecting children, especially in private schools. So the economic downturn is a reality on our children, and we're not paying attention to it. The saddest thing I heard today is, whose fault is it? His fault? My fault? Her fault? It's not me. It's the parent? It's the mother? It's the teacher? It's the school? That is the saddest thing we said today. It's all our fault and it's all our responsibility. Can mental illness be prevented or treated? If you don't go away with anything today, just know that these gurus said yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. It can be prevented. It can be identified. It can be treated. Once you know that something has a cure or can be addressed, it's 90% of the problem solved. It's just bringing people together to solve that problem and to have both the social, political, and economic will to do so. So it can be prevented. How? Together. Not a blame talk. It's not about who is wrong. It's not about whose fault it is. It's about the fact that we have something to address. So the answer to how shall we do it? The answer is together. So what shall we do? Let's talk to mommy first. Be there. Be there. It does not mean that you need to be not a professional. Can I ask you all a question? Do I look unprofessional? Do I sound unprofessional? But I've never worked at all. I didn't work because of my children. I just decided not to work. But I work. I work around their schedule. I work when I drop them in Olashore, then I go away for 2 weeks, and I come back when it's visiting day. Then I go away for 2 weeks. I come back when it's half term. Then I go away for 2 weeks. And so, in some stage in my life, I was called an airplane. It's because of my children I became an airplane. I have to be back when they are back at home. And so we were all going to school. My school was work, and we were all on half term. When it's half term, I come back. So, mommy, you can be who you choose to be and still be there. Be there with ears, be there with your heart, but be firm. Be there doesn't make you the dustbin that does everything your children want you to do. So be there with your eyes, your ears, your heart, but be firm. Daddy, schools. Okay, this is schools. Please, we didn't address the issues we need to do in schools. We are celebrating teachers like we ought to. But teachers, especially in boarding school, must recall that there are parents inside too. If in the 9 months of a year, in the 12 months of a year, if your child is in a boarding school, the parents is with the teachers in the school 9 months of a year. So I learned more about my daughter from Mrs. Ahmed than I learned from her when she was at home. Mrs. Ahmed became my good friend. Mrs. Ahmed is a teacher in Olashore. She became my good friend because she would call me if she quarrels with her friend. She's the person who would know. And I remember when I went to Holy Child, when I had a disagreement with Dayo and Musa, and we stopped eating pat pop together. My mother wasn't there to know I was quarreling with my best friend, but Mrs. Choson was there to know. So please, 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 teachers are parents inside too. We thank you for it, but please don't stop. Daddy, we love you, but can you be more than our ATM? We really love Daddy, but Daddy is our ATM. When mommy wants something, go and meet Daddy. It's only when mommy wants money, go and meet Daddy. We want to pay school fees, go and meet Daddy. Is it a man's fault that he thinks that all I need to provide for these people is money? Is it his fault? Is it his fault? Daddy, 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 don't mind them. We really love you. We would like you to continue to be our ATM, but we need you for much more than that. So what are the solutions? It was very good that we started to address solutions. The biggest solution is building resilience in our children. Life ends fair and it's not going to become fair. We need to build resilience in our children. The resilience that allows them to know how to swim in tough waters and swim with their heads up. The resilience that helps them to know I'm having a fun time and I know where to press the brakes. The resilience to understand the difference. Grant me peace, O Lord. Patience. Grant me, but tell me, grant me wisdom, but let me know the difference. So parents, discover your child. It's a relationship. Set aside date times. Know your child's friends. It's not only about how much time, but the quality of the time. It breaks my heart when I see women on Oxford Street. It's 2 weeks of holiday. That child is on Oxford Street, from Oxford Street to Bond Street, from Bond Street. It's in the shops until they go home. So they've spent time, haven't they? But it's very poor quality time. Be a parent. Be a parent first that is friendly but not a friend that is parenting. Many of us are friends that are parenting rather than parents that are friends. Big difference. Be firm yet be flexible. Teachers, you have a role. Be aware. Be a parent in school. Communicate. Schools, if it's burden, 9 out of 12 are with you. It's a partnership. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's a partnership. It's typical Olashore positions. It's a partnership. Thank you for maintaining that spirit. It's a partnership. We are parents together. You have to know your students too. It's not only parents that need to know their children. Teachers have to know their students. PTA is for much more than fees and academic performance. And so most PTAs come and discuss fees. I think the suggestion of a policy guidance that says this is what I do to respond to threats of mental wellness is something that should be regularly on the agenda for parents. Awareness. Nothing more to say. This is just the beginning of a conversation. That awareness must go well beyond us here. Seek help. Help. I need help. Most of us don't want to seek help for mental illness. Our parents know, our friends know it. Our teachers know it. We know it, that we don't want the stigma of saying I have a problem. Thank you again for this session, because it's the beginning of helping us to acknowledge that we do have a problem. Boys don't cry. Abby? Boys don't cry, but real men do. Real men cry. I've seen my father cry. He cried when he lost his daughter. He cries. So can daddies take time to cry? If you don't cry, it will be men don't cry and boys don't cry. So I think sometimes we should just cry in front of our children. I do that often because I need some support from my children and their boys, so I cry. No way, it cannot happen to me. Because we already think it cannot be us, we're not looking out for it. We're not anticipating it, and we're not responding to it. Please, is there anybody here except from my sis? Mrs. Ogedengbe happens to be my sister. Is there anybody else here who has a child suffering from mental illness? Indicate by raising your hand. Thank you. Anybody else? I think some of us are deceiving ourselves. How do you know? Have you checked? Have you bothered to find out? So some of us are sitting down here saying, nah, I'm a good parent, it can't happen to me. Please be aware that it can, and you should. Finally, we need to stand up to stigma. The HIV/AIDS was won by people standing up to stigma of HIV/AIDS. Investing in advocacy, investing in people like Mrs. Ogedengbe saying, I'm living with it and I'm living with it positively. The new stigmatizing disability in the world now is mental health. When you get angry, you are not mad. But if you get angry in a particular way, and it's not even madness, it's anger. So we need information, we need engagement to help everybody wherever they are to stand up to stigma. Mental wellness. WHO defines this as mental wellness. You're intellectually well, you're socially well, physically well, spiritually well, occupationally well, emotionally well, environmentally well. It's not a pendulum that you're swinging like this. It's about a balance. It's about a balance. And seeking that balance is part of mental wellness. The conversation. I've had an excellent time sitting quietly there. But I want to note to you all that this conversation has only just started. And on behalf of Olashore International School and all the schools that are here, the parents that are here, daddies, mommies, and potential ones that are here, I invite you to join the conversation. I love this mental wellness pledge. I think we should send it to everybody. I think everybody here should sign it. We should have a place where we celebrate the mental wellness help that says we commit to reducing stigma. We commit to love people dealing with mental health and their families. We commit to encouraging help-seeking behavior. We shall walk the walk. We commit to seek help from the right place. The church is important, but it's not the only place. The right people. The psychiatrist is important, but sometimes it's not a psychiatric issue. We need to do it at the right time, not when it's gone wrong. But more importantly, we commit to be their voices and to boost our knowledge. Thank you very much.
I think everybody would agree with me that Dr. Lola Dare lived up to the expectation of wrapping it all up. Thank you very much, man. We really appreciate you. And of course, the time taking, and each and every one of you, thank you so much for being here. To the men in the house, please don't forget to cry when you get home. It's funny she should mention that. I attended another event which was focused on basically men, and I think one of the greatest challenges being a man, not just any man, a Nigerian man, is that you're not equipped for the responsibilities ahead. You know, they tell you that, aren't you a man? You know, and then you enter marriage, you enter relationships without the solid foundation, and you just make things up along the way. And where they become abusive to their wives or girlfriends or whatever, sometimes you find out that deep down it's a manifestation of something that hasn't been sorted. So to the men here, please let it out, okay? I myself have never cried in my life. So please look at the person next to you and ask, what's on your mind? What's on your mind? The hashtag OIS M.W.I.T. And of course, the conversation is still ongoing. Thank you very much for all the tweets and reposts that have been going on.